just the other day, they did the premiere for The Flash, and The Flash actually showed up to the movie. That was the crazy part. Nobody actually expected Barry Allen's actor, in which case we mean Ezra Miller, to show up to the premiere, but he did. He did a couple of walks on the carpet. He looked sedated to me. I don't mean to make that sound rude, but he looked very sedated.
Do you think he was?
Probably. Like, I can't speak to whether he was or not. But here's the thing. They didn't allow anyone in the cast to do interviews. They did not allow anybody.
But maybe that's because they're all uninteresting.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because it's not worth doing.
Ben Affleck was there. He's interesting. Could have asked him questions about J-Lo. She was with him.
That's the thing. He was probably like, absolutely not. I don't want to talk about J-Lo at all. And everyone else is like, we don't want to talk about Ezra. So if you're not going to talk about J-Lo, there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah. He did give a small speech at the start of it where he talks about how he told the director, he goes, I think you're amazing and I think your work is monumental. And there's kind of nods to the fact that they'll probably end up keeping him around. And I wonder what it takes in Hollywood to get actually blacklisted in some way, shape, or form, because we have this story about Tenoch Huerta, who denies the assault allegations against him. We talked about this yesterday. So these accusations came out about a woman named Maria Elena Rios, who claimed that he was a predator, and that they were in a relationship and that he was abusive, and says that the accusation is false and completely unsubstantiated. It says that they dated for a while, about a year ago, and then several months ago, she started talking badly about it. But when they were dating, it was completely consensual. Now she's coming around, and I can't speak to whether any of that is true or not, but if you're Marvel or if you're DC with Ezra Miller, you have to always be weighing pros and cons as to whether you keep these people around when their name becomes problematic in the cultural zeitgeist.
So she's saying, upon reflection, I realized that relationship was unhappy, or she was saying at the time, I was not good, but I wasn't talking about it.
She said that, I asked a question yesterday, I said, I couldn't tell whether she was saying that she knew of him being a predator or if he was a predator towards her, which was not clarified in her statement. Also points out that like when she started coming forward, it was because she didn't get paid for a podcast appearance she did with this charity, like this activist group that he works for that's there to combat racism in Mexico. And she had problems with that. She left that group. And then people that he worked with came up and showed up to one of her shows. I guess she's like a professional saxophonist. So showed up at one of her shows because she's an activist for women's rights and stuff, because I guess she was a victim of an acid attack years ago.
This girl's story is crazy. A professional saxophonist who was at one point attacked.
But the point is now this guy's name is essentially mud in the public eye right now. It's not very good. And what do these companies have to do when you've attached these people and they sign on for 4, 5, 6 films? You're kind of screwed, right? And what we're seeing with Ezra is the combined effort of a lot of different people to make something go smoothly that could just go a lot smoother if you just hired somebody who didn't do things that got them in trouble all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So they don't do interviews. Nobody's allowed to speak to the actors. He hasn't been on any of the press junkets. All of the advertising has been based around Michael Keaton's Batman, not around Ezra Miller's Flash. You could make the argument that that's because Batman is a more, notable character.
He puts butts in seats.
But the problem is like that's not a good plan long term, because the goal is to actually draw people to this character so that when you make the next movie, you don't just have Batman to market on, you have this character to market on as well. Yep. It's kind of like what they do in wrestling when they complain about not building up newer wrestlers to be household names. Rather, they just bring back old wrestlers who inevitably don't have, like, the newer wrestlers don't have the gravitas or the name value that the older wrestlers do, but they're there all the time. So then it becomes a battle about who do we promote? Do we promote these old guys who we know get people into the stadium, or do we promote the younger guys who are here every week but they don't have the same profile? And it feels like if you're going to make Ezra Miller's character a household name, at least to mainstream audiences who just don't seem to care about the Flash as much as comic book fans do, or as much as fans like me of the animated series do, you're going to have a lot of work to do if you can't even bring the actor portraying the character to the forefront and have him talk to the public, because they're going to ask you, hey, why were you holding guns around minors when you were at your compound in wherever that is. Vermont.
I am an artist and you don't understand me.
That must have been what he was thinking, right?
Well, we already talked about this, but like they can't get rid of him, right? It was
too far
too late.
He even mentions it when he does his speech. He goes, "This movie that was 10 years in the making." Like 10 years, a decade, which means like if you really think about that.
Maybe they need to rally public sentiment against Ezra Miller, right? Hear me out. Maybe they need to be like, find all of the Flash extremist fans who are like, he is the best one. He is the number one superhero of all to forget Superman and all the other ones. Flash is the center of the universe, and get onto their message boards and get them to be like, everything Ezra Miller has done has besmirched the name of the Flash, and the only way to rectify this is to cancel this movie and start again and get rid of him. And that way the studio can be like, there's so much public backlash. There's nothing we can do. We have to sever ties with Ezra Miller, because I feel like they are in this position where they can't fully cut off.
Yeah, but it's
already there. But also, the only way is to try and get the Flash extremists to rally against him.
But they're also talking about it like he's on good enough terms.
Because the fact that he's got all this weird dynamics with underage minors is apparently not enough.
Apparently not. But they're talking about it like he's got a good relationship with James Gunn and Peter Safran and Pamela
Abby.
Good
for them.
So, no, but what I'm saying is like it's not that they're not getting rid of him. It's that they're likely going to continue using the actor in future installments. That's crazy.
That's what I'm saying. That's why they have to get the Flash like super fans to be like, we will not support this going forward if he's involved. That's the only way you can get out of this. It's going to take a little bit of inception, but that's what they'd have to do.
Somebody in the chat said Ezra Miller cult reality show, and that sounds way more entertaining than The Flash.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would like if somebody just did a reality show where they just followed Ezra Miller around with like button cams.
I'd
like they
watch
don't
it.
like you want it authentic, right? So you don't have the guy with the actual camcorder.
Yeah.
You just have people who follow him around with like hat cams and glasses cams, and you just let him live.
Oh, he's throwing a chair at a woman. No way.
Well, okay,
That's awesome.
But then you get in trouble for broad. Like, I don't know if you remember this. There are laws that production companies can violate if they end up showing stuff. So like Teen Mom, a classic part of American culture. There was one episode, they had that spinoff where they're watching, it was like 16 Pregnant, and then one of the girls, she's from Indiana, I don't remember her name, but she like, they recorded her like hitting her baby daddy, and they end up using the episode, and her daughter was in the room. Yep. So she was in trouble because that's a form of child abuse. But also the production company got in trouble because like filming abuse in front of a child is also a violation of state law. So I think despite the fact that it would probably be successful and everyone wants to know what Ezra Miller is doing, it would actually be very difficult to make your money back because you wouldn't be able to put any of the insane stuff in.
Well, could they film it and then get releases signed after the fact from the people?
I think it depends on what it is. Like in this case, it's not like
but
you
he's
get
an adult. Like,
it's not like
what if he only throws chairs at adults?
But then that's exhibiting, like, if I remember correctly, this girl, I think her name was Amber, got in trouble because she hit her baby daddy in front of the kid, but then the company got in trouble because they filmed violence occurring in front of a child. So if he threw a chair, okay. I could misremember this slightly, but like if he throws a chair at an adult and there are minors present, it, depending on what state, they would be in the same predicament.
I'm so down for the Ezra Miller. Just like it's like everywhere he goes, like people like hold their chairs tighter. And they don't do karaoke in front of him. And you do not do karaoke.
No karaoke in front of him.
And all altars, like he has an altar. He brings an altar everywhere he goes for people to bow down to him.
What about him and Waffle House Wendy?
Oh my God.
That's the ultimate face-off.
That is you know what it is? Like a decade from now, we're going to end up getting that.
Yeah,
we're gonna get that show where it's like the face off, the showdown you've all been waiting for. Who will win? Waffle House Wendy versus Ezra Miller, and like by then he's aged a little bit. He's not as spry as he once was. She's a little bit older. Maybe her reflexes aren't the same as they were when she first caught that chair. Maybe also by this time she's working like a normal corporate job, so she's not working the crazy Waffle House schedule with all the incidents that kept her limber all those years. Like, I'm down. I'm down to watch this show. Or they could do it like a game show, right? Yeah. Where, like, Ezra Miller and other celebrities known for throwing things, they get the guy who threw the shoe at Bush, and they get people to throw stuff at Waffle House Wendy, and she has to catch all of it.
Yeah. And then also her versus a, like, NHL goalie. Who does it better?
Yes! Like,
I'm telling you, this is gold content.
There's like Patrick Waugh's retired, right? We could get Patrick Waugh, and this would be fantastic.
This is
We're going to
brilliant.
do that. So we got a $20 super chat here from Darth Doza. He says, Brett. Oh, wait, hold on. Brett, hold on. I keep doing this wrong.
IJ5.
Yeah. He says, Indiana Jones 5, that's capitalism that made me tune out for the full minute with cringe. Hannah Claire, book recommendations, please. I'm very curious about something. Have a good Tuesday, all.
What? You're curious about something specific?
Okay, so I'm going to first address that line. So
Okay.
this is how the Transformers, The Rise of the Beast got a little bit screwed over by that trailer, because ahead of the movie, there was a trailer for Indiana Jones 5. And there's a line in which Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character says something, and I don't remember the first part of the line. It was like, they steal from them, you steal from them, I steal from you. That's capitalism. And I just rolled my eyes. I was
they,
like,
though?
it made me want
Who
to.
is they, though?
It's like, it made me want to puke. It was just such a modern line, which is just made worse by the hypocrisy of the most capitalist industry in the country, being movies, delivering that line. And then a couple of minutes into the movie, into Transformers Rise of the Beast, Noah's character, like, I guess he fixes like one of those black boxes, because this movie takes place in the 90s. He fixes one of those black boxes to steal cable for a guy that he lives by. And he gives the box to the guy, and the guy's like, he asks him, like, hey man, you want to make some real money? And he goes, you won't even pay for cable. And he goes, I'm fighting my fighting the vampiric nature of modern capitalism. And this is like a dude in Brooklyn in the 90s. Nobody talked like that then.
Yeah.
Shut the hell up. That is the most 2023 Hollywood bullshit I've ever heard. Yeah. And it took me out of the movie. It broke immersion instantly. You don't have many chances in a movie. You don't have a lot of choices. You can't do that too many times. You can't make that mistake over and over again and not expect people to check out.
But
that one caused me to check out.
We're in the day and age of people thinking like, well, I'm justified in breaking the illusion and disrupting what would be historically accurate to try and rewrite history so that we are better now.
Oh,
like,
it's so annoying.
But you're annoying.
You're annoying.
You're
It's
just
bad.
annoying.
I don't think it's
That's
good.
like the Batman. I was super into the movie, and then all of a sudden she said like, "Oh, you're a white man or white person." I was like, "I'm done.
You're like,
I'm out."
it doesn't make
Well,
any
because
sense.
none of the a lot of people thought like some people argued with me about that line, whether it was bad or not. I go, I don't really care about the message of the line. I care that it doesn't match the rest of the dialogue in the film.
It felt shoehorned in.
It didn't really work, and it didn't really work in this movie. And my biggest gripe with this movie, and I'll be honest, and I think we made a Instagram post about it today, is like, look, Optimus Prime gives all these great speeches, and it was the whole point of these movies, right? The best part of these movies was hearing Optimus Prime give these amazing, rousing speeches about why humanity is a beautiful thing, why it's worth saving, why it's worth it for the Autobots to work with humanity, because we can all be better. All of these great things, right? It's fantastic. But in the movie, everybody these characters interact with are awful. They're awful people. Like, he brings his brother to the hospital. Oh, you're late on your bill. Your brother can't have his sickle cell treatment. Sorry. And the lady's a jerk to him. He goes to a job interview. Guy's a dick to him. Not nice. The girl works with this lady at the museum, steals credit for all her work and is a snob to her. Like, why would I want to save humanity if none of the people other than these main characters seem to be all that worth saving?
Yeah.
It didn't really make sense to me. Now, the Bay movies had a little bit of a similar type of cynicism with some characters, though it seemed better handled at that time. I can't really explain why. That could be my own bias creeping in, that I just like those movies. They're from a different time. But it didn't work here, and it took me out of the movie. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.